What's going on, y'all? Okay, so Major Forever says, "Hey, bro, was you ever shy? And if so, how you get past it?" So, yeah, let me answer the first question. Yes, I was shy before. And astrology, thanks to astrology, right? With astrology, I can actually break down astrologically of how I got out of being that way. But for me, right, like I was a shy kid. Now that I reflect on it, I know why. Like I was bounced around a lot as a child. You know what I'm saying? I had a pretty trying childhood, and that's like being modest about it, giving you the brief story. Excuse me. So I think with that came a bit of trauma, which told me that I wasn't able to be like the children on TV, or I wasn't able to even be like some of the children that were in the neighborhood. It'd be like, oh, come over and spend the night at my house and stuff like that. Like some of the times I'd be able to do that. However, when the roles were reversed, coming to spend a night at my house probably wasn't the greatest idea. You know what I'm saying? And even if I was allowed to do stuff like that, like I didn't feel comfortable doing stuff like that. So you got to think, right? Like as a child, and even when it came to girls and stuff like that, right? Like even probably a 11, 12-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy shouldn't want to be bringing girls home at that age. But with me, it was just more of the reason, just being able to do it. You know what I'm saying? And just saying, yeah, well, come over, even if it's just like after school, we got to do a science project or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, it just wasn't the ideal environment for that to take place, should I say, so to speak, right? So that kind of got me into being shy. Now, don't get me wrong though. Again, I see placements in my chart that suggests, you know, I'm a pretty private person. Um, Also, when it comes to like the home environment, like as a child, like I would be home when I did have a home, and I would like not feel at home. You know what I'm saying? So I attribute that to Sagittarius in the fourth house, on the fourth house cusp. Now you grow out of that with a Sagittarius on the fourth house cusp. Come to find out, but I noticed the evolving from being that child that wasn't comfortable in the home environment at a young age. As I started evolving, like for instance, when my godparents took me in, they moved me into the basement. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a gradual growth process. At first, like bouncing around from apartment to apartment with my biological parents. Here and there, I'd get my own room. Like when I graduated to get my own room, I was just like, whoa, like I got real accustomed to that. But I'm the type of person like, don't come in my room now. You know what I'm saying? Or like, don't touch my stuff. Like don't touch none of my stuff. Don't break my stuff. If you borrow my clothes, like don't bring my clothes back messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. I got very adamant about stuff like that. I started being very possessive about my own because I started realizing like, yo, I got my own now. You know what I'm saying? So gradually growing into that, I started to build more confidence just from a home point of view. So I'm talking to all viewers, subscribers alike right now. Look at where your fourth house is when you think about being shy. There's going to be more, but I do want you to think about your fourth house because the fourth house is about security. So the more that you become secure and having your home unit, I think you can really go out and achieve and accomplish and conquer anything in life when you can come from a point that that part of your life is not so questionable or so uncertain, right? When you get stability in that area, in that department, you'd be amazed at the type of confidence that'll grow from that. That's not it alone either, though, and that's not what brought me out of being shy. But let me continue on the fourth house thing because I told you my godparents, they moved me into the basement, right? And this was like the biggest room I ever had in my life. But I started noticing how I liked open spaces, right? So even now in my studio, it's just like it's not the biggest place, but it's just like very open. You walk into this creative mess, you walk into this creative mess, and so on and so forth, right? But the very organized creative messes, I got like OCD issues, seriously. A lot of Virgo traits, right? But I've noticed how, again, in my gradual growth process of home and security, I've noticed how, I started being accustomed to where my placement was astrologically, and I'm just like, whoa, I can be real creative with all of this space that I have. You know what I mean? And I'm a Pisces, so go figure. So, but even then, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I can attribute it to still being younger, or maybe I can still just attribute it to being, I guess you could say, a bit traumatized from bouncing from apartment to apartment at such a young age, that I guess in the back of my mind figured that, okay, even though my godparents took me in, like, I still didn't feel completely at home. You know what I'm saying? I would be running the streets like even more then. And it was just like, yo. But now that I'm evolved more, and now that I have my own, it's a completely different story. But again, like, my studio is about to the point where I want it to be finally. And I can already feel this kind of urge coming on that I want to travel now. You know what I'm saying? So it's, I feel more home than I've ever been, but that's due to having my own. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like this every apartment that I've owned by myself. Like, once I reached that level, the security and the confidence grew much more than it was as a child. However, that's still not what brought me out of being shy. This is what brought me out of being shy. Wherever your sun is in your astrological wheel, not the sign, of course, the sign, right? If you're a Taurus, you're a Gemini, you're a Leo, look at the house that it's in. All right? Because my sun is inside of the 6th house. And when I was younger, right, I felt like I was just this dark kid. You know what I'm saying? That just like to imagine in my video right now. So I'm waiting for it to come back. All right, there it goes. I don't know what's going on with that. But I was always a great writer, right? So, but I would like scan classrooms at that, and like a Virgo would analyze the situation, survey the room, and then, do my own thing, right? So I was kind of the quiet kid, but you get me alone, like, I become explosive. You know what I'm saying? I knew this about myself then, but when you're in a place of 30, 40 kids and they notice that about you, you know what I'm saying? It can pretty much be revealed, or they come up to you and they're like, oh, what's up with you? Or what's your name? And stuff like, never say my name until the teacher calls on my name and stuff like that, right? But I was always comfortable in my own skin when doing that. But it was when I would be in these larger crowds, like classrooms, that I understood that I wasn't so social. You know what I'm saying? And but I wanted to be more social. I wanted to stand out, and I think that came with being more impressionable when I was younger, because I also realized the power of being attractive. So that kind of like drew to me what I actually needed, or what I wanted as well. You know what I'm saying? So that was a great space for me. But again, when you're in the form of being with a bunch of people and you notice how the mechanics of the world works on that spectrum, your curiosity kind of drives you to say, oh, I want to be able to do that too. You know what I'm saying? I want to do that too. Or, I want to be talked about, or, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. When you're young, you're impressionable. Those types of things cross your mind. So that's what crossed my mind. So I'm like, well, what can I do that, gets people paying more attention to me, to the point where, I can speak with them, or I can talk with them? Because I always felt like, and I know this is going to sound like real Hasidity or whatever the case may be, but I always felt like a real brainiac, you know what I'm saying? To the point where that's what a lot of the times ostracized me, because I was so smart at a young age. So you got to think, the environment that I grew up in was a real trying and tough environment. You know what I'm saying? To where the things that people did every day, kids my age, was just like redundant, unproductive, sometimes just, chaotic and just ignorant. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn how to shift from, like, to turn my nerd off, to adjust to what was going on around me, in order to gel correctly. You get what I'm saying? So I started making music. My first song sounded just like Kool G Rap's Road to the Riches. Like, I pretty much emulated Kool G Rap, because again, I'm a great writer, fantastic writer. I was about 8 years old when I wrote this song. Fantastic writer, right? But this whole hip hop thing, this rap thing, it was different. Like, everybody in my neighborhood, in my environment, connected to that. And that's what they understood. That's what they respected. They didn't respect fractions. See what I'm saying? So I said, let me take a shot at this. So I took a shot at this, read it over, remembered it, said it for a few people. A few people had jokes with me. Oh, you sound like Kool G Rap. I'm like, duh. Like, what I'm supposed to do? It's my first time trying it out, right? So, later on I started writing more, try to develop my own sound. But I would still emulate other MCs so I could learn how to do it. You know what I'm saying? Once I learned how to do it, I developed my own style. So this is what happened. It became work for me at a very young age. So I was pretty much, I was on the Richard Bey show. I was like 10 years old. I was on the Apollo stage in front of a lot of people, like 10 years old, 11 years old. I'm doing shows and all over New York. I'm doing shows state to state, 10, 11 years old. So it's like every stage, we started in holes in the walls, little hole in the wall club here, Club Zanzibar in Jersey, Club D-Jack, Club Metropolitan Cafe. Like we bouncing around all these little spots. But each crowd grew bigger, each crowd grew bigger. So doing that catapulted me into a position where I was no longer shy at all. Like when it was time to go on stage, like I was ready. Like I would perform with no problem, like no butterflies, it actually got me excited and encouraged me. And people would be like, you all right? You ready to go out there? Like I had partners too. I had a crew. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. Like, y'all, you gotta be ready. So, I guess my electricity rubbed off on my partners as well. And we would just go out there and do our thing. You know what I'm saying? And, I would do this in front of crowds at street fairs and block parties as well. You know what I'm saying? Grab the mic. Clubs inside of my neighborhood, I would go there here and there, you know what I'm saying, perform at the clubs in my neighborhood. It was nothing. It was like second nature to me, but this was my job. So this is what I want to stress right now. Sixth house is about job, right? Work environment. Now for me, I don't look at it from the whole Capricornian structure part of it of I need you sitting in this desk for 10 hours straight doing what I tell you to do. Really, the sixth house is about working on your mind, body, and soul. So whatever it is that you do that becomes therapeutic for you, mind, body, and soul, that's really what your sixth house is, if you ask me, right? Now Capricorn kind of like steals, if you will, what you do repetitiously to make yourself feel good. But if you look at the astrological wheel, it's not supposed to feel that way. And I'm just saying that because of the way work structure is structured now. Things are changing though. But 5 houses over from the 6th house is the 10th house. So 5 houses is fun, leisure. You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is that you do for fun and for leisure, once it stops being fun, it's not your job anymore. Someone or something has sucked your soul away and it is using you and it's going to make you deteriorate. You know what I mean? And so with music, I began to get into music, but I did it because it made me feel so good, right? So I'll tell you again, like when I was first started making music, I realized how now all of the people around me, they gravitated towards me. Everyone wanted to talk. Everyone wanted to be my friend now. Everyone wanted to be involved with what I was doing because I made them feel good through my music, right? But then this happened. The environment kind of tugged on me, right? And then I started making music for myself. So some of these songs would come out sounding, kind of dark like I am, you know what I'm saying, naturally. But it would be me searching through my mind, trying to figure out solutions for the things that I was actually experiencing in real life. Kind of I guess what you can call drill music today, right? So, but I noticed what happened with this is it kind of ostracized the people who would gravitate towards me in the beginning and really liked what I was doing. You know what I mean? So now I took on this persona of, I guess you could say, this gangster individual who, was conflicted and wanted to hurt people or, was very defensive. I wouldn't even say defensive, but very offensive. Like I was a defensive child. Like if you mess with me, then it'd be a problem, it'd be an issue, right? But now with the music, I was more like on the hunt looking for it. And this kind of like alienated me, but there was another crowd of people who gravitated towards that. You know what I'm saying? It was like, yeah, we like this hardcore gangster stuff, but this is what happened, right? It wasn't fun anymore. And like I said, since I was 10, 11 years old, I was getting paid for doing music. You know what I'm saying? So not only did it become not fun anymore, I wasn't getting paid. Like, I wasn't seeing the money. I started going to jail. You know, the people that I was involved with, they were stealing money from behind my back and stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, this ain't adding up. You know what I'm saying? So the whole impressionable Pisces stuff started fading away now, because now you're interfering with my money. And I don't care how much you like it as an executive and you like it as an executive. You know, my life is involved here now, and I'm actually putting my life on the pen and paper and the speakers, and it's not fulfilling anymore. So I started working with other producers while this was occurring, right? And I started toying with beats and new sounds and stuff like that. You know, international music, international producers. Started toying with my voice even more. You know what I mean? Doing melodies and stuff like that. So it wasn't such hardcore and gangster type vibes that were coming out. But I was definitely role playing, I guess you could say, but using my imagination more, like I did as a child when I would write stories. And you know, I made a lot of songs that dealt with women. You know what I'm saying? This is where really what my desire was anyway. You know what I'm saying? Come to find out. But again, I told you I was a child that didn't really like bringing company over. So I kind of like shied away from the girls at a young age because of that. You know what I'm saying? I got more into the gangster life because I had to survive. You know what I'm saying? So now that I got this time to create with these new people and everything, I started making these songs for women, about women and everything. So I remembered bringing these songs back to my neighborhood and letting my peoples hear them. And I mean, they would just fill the block bumping my song. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, yo, y'all like that? And they'd be like, yo, what? Like, I kid you not. Like, I made this song called Booty Round Like the Earth. I made this song called Titties Out. 2 songs that to this day, they're probably like my biggest records that people remember. And it's wild because my people, you know, they grew up with me, the guys, but they love these songs so much. Why? Because, you know, it brings the girls around. So I kind of started remembering what my purpose was at this point. You know what I mean? Girls start coming up to the cars and everything. Who's singing that song? And oh, that's you. Oh, betcha. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, oh, okay. I see what's going on now. Now, of course, you know, in the industry, some people who are used to you with the gangster catalog, they kind of like will be upset because they, you know, they have their own agenda. They might want to see that continuing that only. But this is when I had to start making my mind up again and say, like, this is a job. This is supposed to be fun. So I started making money off of the songs that I was doing for women. So you got to understand, I went from making money in the beginning to not making no money with all this gangster stuff and getting in trouble all the time, to going back to making money off of music. But, you know, I wasn't an artist at this point. You know, I was just really just making music for like film, television and stuff like that. And like I got a song right now. It's probably my biggest song that I get a check for. It's called Shake It. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just basically telling the girls, shake it, but don't break it, but make sure you shake it right. You know what I mean? It's pretty popcorn shit. You know what I'm saying? But it makes the women dance. Like, they love it. They eat it up. And it's on TV. It's on movies. So I put 2 and 2 together. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? I don't care to like go perform in front of crowds and stages and stuff like that no more. Again, that was more of an experiment for me to actually break out of being shy. You know what I mean? I wanted to learn what it took to be more social and to get people speaking with me about what was popular. Like, I used popularism because the vocational thing just wasn't registering in my environment. You get what I'm saying? So that's how I broke out of being shy. Applying myself in areas that the larger population would discuss. You know, became good at it. I achieved what I looked out to do. But it came, again, this is my advice to everyone who's listening. When it comes to the point where you're not having fun anymore, either revise it or get out of it, switch it up, and listen to people when they talk to you. Don't always be so, you know, don't always lean on your own understanding. Because I remember having a talk with the lawyer who was actually involved with these people that I'm talking about when I went through this music period of, you know, getting in trouble with the law and stuff like that. So I'm speaking with the lawyer, and he was like, you know, you should probably think about writing. You should probably think about writing. I had an open case at the time. He was like, you should probably think about writing more, right? And he was careful when he spoke. He didn't want to say too much. You know, I guess he didn't want to offend me. But now that I reflect years back on this, and I'm like, I know what he meant now. You know what I'm saying? Because he knew that I started making money from writing behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? For big placements or whatever. And the limelight, the camera, and all that. It's not. It's really not as important as you may think it is, unless you're truly doing what you want to do. And so I want to remind you, remember, in order to break out of being shy, I was doing what other people wanted. You know what I mean? I stopped being who I was for a moment just so I can see how to be more social and involved and popular. You know what I mean? Now, later on, when I started doing what I wanted to do, right? Now, check this out. This is how everything aligns. Like, if you're paying attention, you'll see it. You won't miss it. So this is Scorpio chick, right? When I first started Benjamin Bugs, it was about 2009. And the first thing that I did, not the first thing, but kind of like the first thing I did, right, was I built a website. I guess you could call it a web page. And it was pretty pornographic, you know what I'm saying? I was just posting up pictures of, chicks bending over. And twerking wasn't even a thing yet then, you know what I mean? Chicks bending over or chicks posing in the mirror and stuff like that. Cell phones just came on the scene, so I would just have a page like that, and I'd be like, next week we're going to have this girl from Washington, D.C., or this girl from Virginia, you know what I'm saying? And, with people tuned into that, you know what I'm saying? I was having a ball while doing it, but I was really, like, experimenting and stuff, you know what I mean? And, but whenever it came upon me that I wasn't repetitious with it, this Scorpio chick would pop up out of nowhere, because first she would just pop up and be like, yo, what's up, if I posted like titties or something like that, she'd be like, oh, those are nice titties. She's a girl and everything, but it just didn't even matter. Like, she was just like, oh, those are nice titties. Where'd you get those from? You know what I'm saying? And we'd be joking and stuff like that. And so whenever I would break the routine, she would kind of like pop up out of nowhere and be like, so what's going on with your thing? And I'm like, oh, what, the music? Because I was still like dip and dab with music. I'm like, yo, I'm doing my thing with music. She was like, no, not that. What you're passionate about. And she would always say this, and I'm gonna be like, yo, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? What are you talking? And then she'd like disappear, and I'd reply to the message or whatever the case may be. I'm like, yo, what is this Scorpio chick talking about? You know what I mean? But whenever things were sexually involved, or I was doing things for women, she'd pop up back on the scene. Bang, bang, bang. So I started putting that together. I'm like, oh, I know what she's talking about, what I'm passionate about now. I didn't get deeper into that part of the game until later. Like, I started being more repetitious. You know what I'm saying? Again, I started making songs for women. You know what I mean? I started seeing women's responses to the songs that I made. I started seeing the check getting bigger from that. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, the company that I was writing songs for, the publishing company that actually started getting me money, a woman owns that. So here I was in relationships and deals with men prior to this, and they were like, I made some money, but they were like taking some off, skimming some off the top and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And for me, when you violate like that, like that's when a man does that to a man, you're asking for something different. You know what I'm saying? It's different. You with a chick, I'll argue with a chick like, yo, chick, don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? And it's over with. But when a dude crosses you like that, it's kind of, with me, it's kind of just like, yo, you serious? Like, and at that point, I kind of had things narrowed down to how I would settle things. And in the long run, you don't win like that. You know what I'm saying? Again, you'd be sitting in jail while other men got your catalog of music, and, they can continue doing what they want. They can sell your music in Germany and you'd be none the wiser. You know what I mean? So I had to get out of that mindset and fix myself, get back to making music for these women. So everything started clicking, right? Writing behind the scenes, getting placements in movies, TV, a woman publishing company. She's like, I'm going to make sure Benjamin gets a check. This is what she told us on the phone. She said, I'm going to make sure Benjamin gets a check this year. And from that year forward, I've been receiving checks for music that I've been making for TV and movies. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get it twisted like there's a whole bunch of money from this and everything, but this is another thing that comes along with working and where your sun is to bring you out of shyness. There's going to be times where you question the money. So, for instance, I make more money in departments where my Venus is. You know what I mean? But when it comes to my sun, that's my vitality, that's my youth, that's my vigor. So it's still important. So I have to make music even if I don't put it out. You know what I'm saying? I could turn this microphone off and just be like, yo, I have to make a song right now about X, Y, and Z. And just do it because it's therapeutic for me. It makes me feel good. It's my vital source. And that's from my sun being inside of my sixth house. I got to continue to work on my, that's my body, my mind, and my soul is my work environment. If you look at your sixth house like that, you'll understand what I'm saying. But again, this is applied to wherever house your sun is in. You know what I mean? So, here I am. I'm back to making music for women. I'm back to, having my websites where you can come see boobies and buns and feel good when you see these women, guys. You know what I'm saying? For guys who still like women, it's, oh, that was such a cheap shot. But I'm serious. The world we living in today, I just seen a guy with pedal pusher jeans on, and he had flip-flops on. I'm like, dude, we in New York City, in Queens. Like, what are you doing on a train? Like, totally left right now, right? But what I'm saying is this, right? I know my lane, and whatever your lane is, even if your lane is wearing pedal pusher jeans and you're a guy, if that's your lane, utilize your lane. If that's what gets you in the position to where you're not shy anymore, because for some people it's fashion, or how do I get noticed, you know what I'm saying, or how can I talk to people more, or how do I get people to notice me? So they might put on some pedal pusher jeans and some flip-flops, you know what I'm saying? There's a crowd for that now. I think it's, what is it called, metrosexual or something like that. Like, I'm really trying to be up to date with this stuff as much as I oppose it, because I just still want to be knowledgeable about my surroundings, you know what I'm saying? So even if you're that type of individual, don't mind what I prefer. You know what I'm saying? If that's your lane, if those are the things that brings you out of being caged in, do it. But if you can find it in astrology to actually look where your sun is at, right? And let's say your sun is in the second house. So fashion is something that you're big on because you want people to take you seriously by your personal persona, what your preference is. So that will be emphasized with a sun inside of the second house. You know what I'm saying? Your personal attachments, what your materialistic attitude is. So you might come outside with a pink jumpsuit on and some rain boots or whatever, you know what I'm saying, and put it together. I seen one dude today, he had on, and I don't know if this might be in, maybe I'm just getting a bit older, you know what I mean? He had on swishies, like the swishy sweatpants with the lines going down the side of them, but they were high water. And he had like these tan socks coming. The pants were green. He had these tan socks going up. They weren't ankle cut socks. They were going up his calves. And he had a pair of Uptown Air Ones on. And he had a white button up on. So I'm just like, okay, maybe I'm out of the loop. You know what I'm saying? But he looked very cool and confident in his travels. Like, you couldn't tell dude nothing. And he was conversating with people at this. And I was just like, because I know I had to do this video. And I'm just like, okay, I see, you know what I'm saying? And I understand with myself now. So my lane is making music for women, I would say, or making things and projects and platforms for women because it makes them feel good and it makes me feel good when doing it. And I don't have to put myself out there as to say, I'm an insecure gangster, so don't mess with me or I'll like break your face or something like that, because that's kind of like the path that I was going down because I was kind of impressionable. You understand what I'm saying? So but that becomes with being a Pisces and where my sun is at. Pisces, we get into role playing, like, but I'd rather act. If you ask me today, I'd rather act than to actually get on a stage and X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? So this whole getting on YouTube and doing this is nothing for me. Like, there's no one even in here right now. You know what I'm saying? I just told you I'm used to getting on stages, Funkmaster Flex, Car Show, you name it, 50 Fab there, you name it. Like, I'm used to 5,000, 6,000 people in a crowd. Right here, I'm just recording it by myself, and sure, millions of people can get access to it, but I'm not afraid of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm used to it. But in these talks and discussions, I'm talking about things that I want to talk about. You know what I mean? This is also therapeutic for me. Like, it's like writing a rhyme about myself just so I can get through the day. But this is for you guys. You know what I'm saying? But I enjoy it. I'm not depressed or I'm not going to jail behind it and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So you find your lane as you go. But absolutely, it's a must that to break out of shyness, that you look where your sun is at, because that's your vitality, that's where your vigor is. And if anything or anyone is pulling from that to the point where you're questioning your identity, you must fix it. You have to fix that, because that is where the stuff comes from. Like this is what I was saying before I lost my train of thought. The money might not pay as well as you want it to. You know what I'm saying? As I said before, I've made more money, and I still to this day make more money in areas in my chart where my Venus is and not where my sun is. But I do not ignore the repetition of the house where my sun is at, because it's vitality. It brings me energy. It brings me solace. It brings a smile to my face. If you can't smile some of this, I'm a mean person, man, but you know what I'm saying? I'm kind. I act kind. You know, I know what kindness is, but I'm a mean person. So whatever it is that I can do to make myself feel good and make others feel good, I take the time out to do that. I don't care how much. Someone just mentioned in the comment section of my last video, I think it was a couple of videos ago. I'm gonna get back to you too. I didn't forget you. I seen you. Long time subscriber said, you know, I think you're underrated, Benjamin. And I'm about to say, like, I totally agree with you. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to like the YouTube thing and all that. But I use that to say this, right? When it comes to exercising where your sun is at, it doesn't really matter. I don't have to get 10,000 subscribers overnight. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this for a few years now. About a few years now. 200 videos in. I got like 3,500 subscribers. I'm okay, because it makes you guys feel good. It pisses some of y'all off too, but you know, that's part of that comes with it. You know what I mean? But it also makes me feel good as well. So I don't think about the expansion part of it in the moment. I just do what I'm doing in the moment when it makes me feel good. Now there are times when I'm just like, I don't feel like doing a video. You know what I mean? Even if you guys request it, or I just don't feel. If I'm not feeling it, I won't do it. You know what I mean? But when it's time, I do it. I know when it's time. You know what I mean? So it's not the money. It's the feeling. It's the vitality. It's the youthfulness. It's the vigor. It's what makes me feel alive. It's what helps make you guys feel alive. You get the insight. You get the tips and the pointers. You apply them. You come back. You say, hey, look, that's true. Oh, yo, I did this. Thank you. Your video made me see this. That's what it's about. You can't really put a price on that. Afterwards, you'd be surprised how, okay, you know, oh, people start paying attention. Oh, I seen your video. Can you do a reading for me? You see what I'm saying? So then you start seeing, oh, this has benefits after all that you did not expect. But should I have stopped doing it because I didn't see any money? No, because I'd have just made a detriment to my own well-being. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind too. You might be doing some free work. You know what I'm saying? But that's how you know it's fun. Because you do it for free, you know it's fun. You know what I'm saying? And then as you grow and go along, you can frame structures so that you can make it so that you can at least leave the door open to get paid for it. So I'm not saying to be totally ignorant to not being paid. No, like I told you, I still get checks for songs I do and stuff like that. So don't leave money out of the equation. I'm just saying when it's not fun anymore, that's when you guys switch it up. All right. So I hope this video helps not only Major Forever, but all people looking to find out how to not be shy anymore and how to navigate yourselves through that. All right. I'm out, y'all.